Hello viewers, welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for your patronage, and I'm extremely happy to host another In Conversation talk series with a vibrant business leader of the global arena. I'm very happy that this leader is actually from India. And welcome Mr. Abraham Paul Vatakencherry. Thank you very much for your August presence in my
Thank you.
show.
I'm
Friends,
equally obliged.
thank you, Mr. Abraham. Thank you very much for that. Friends who are watching this, we have been hosting this talk series, what we call In Conversation with business leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, and people who create a global impact in the business world are being invited. And this is, I think, a 25th session over the last about 5 months we have been doing this. Thank you very much for your support. In today's session, our guest, Mr. Abraham Paul, is a very, very vibrant leader in many areas. It will be my pleasure and proud privilege to host Mr. Abraham. Before I introduce, before we start our conversation, Mr. Abraham, I would request you to kindly give me a couple of minutes to introduce your profile to my viewers.
Okay.
Mr. Abraham is a global influencer and strategist with the strategic alliances, with a demonstrated history of working across all verticals across the globe for several decades now. Is a skilled in various domain expertise, typically skilled in negotiation, business planning, operations management, sales and marketing, research, strong business development professional in the area of international trade, international business. And Mr. Abraham is actually graduated from India. He also has his master's in UK. And Mr. Abraham's family background has a huge legacy behind. Of course, he is creating his own legacy in the field of international trade and connecting entrepreneurs from different walks of life to reach global standards and to deal with businesses in the global arena. With this short introduction, I would like to straight away get into our conversation because he has given us 30 minutes time in this conversation. Again, welcome Mr. Abraham Paul. Mr. Abraham, while going through the profile, of course, I know you for some time. While going through your profile, it's quite fascinating because I could see different roles in different stature you are playing in the international community. For example, you are a global strategic advisor for several of the US organizations, American organizations, and Europe and African countries. Also the Middle East. You have been a chief coordinator for various strategic approaches which those organizations, international community, wanted to establish in India. Similarly, Indian organization wanted to establish their presence in the international trade, and where you play a corporate affairs, professional strategist, and you are a mentor and guide for several of the C-suite leaders in various organizations, and you are a guide and collaborative expert for connecting Indian business communities to the international business communities and vice versa. And I know that you are a prolific speaker and a spokesperson for several of the newly formed international entities and spearheading their think tank, of the organization, Singapore, Malaysia, and various other countries. I'm sure I also been noticing from your, global experience that, you are a contributor, a great contributor, a lot of generosity in your approach, and a leader of Voice of India section, which was published in the Billionaire Chronicle, which is most prestigious and renowned publication from US, UK, and France. So we would like to hear more from the perspective of how we can really enrich and support the entrepreneurs who have a lot of aspirations and ambitions to be able to do business in the international, global business environment. With that note, I thought I'll plunge into the conversation. Mr. Abraham, I would like to start with your brief family background. From there, I'd like to kickstart with my questions to you. Over to you, Mr. Abraham.
Okay. You want to know my family legacy. Am I right? Okay. In fact, the whole revolution, I would say, kicked off with my grandfather. He was instrumental for the whole family to really branch out to various areas of excellence, and that is one reason why we have been, I am indebted to him, and of course my father also, who was luminary from Harvard, for being what I am today. In fact, my grandfather, to tell you a bit about him, he was teaching in one college over there in the pre-university level in Kuala Lumpur, and he had spent almost a decade and a half over there, and he came back to India, and he was instrumental in founding a very famous private bank here called the Federal Bank. He was one of the founding directors of it, and he has been instrumental, in augmenting their own children's growth, which was one of his children was my own father, so late Dr. Paul. So he also was very much inspired by his teachings, the way he used to, lead by example in various sectors which he was connected to, connecting with people, the type of approach towards a human being. He taught us a lot of human values, which has drained down or percolated down to our, to create a legacy. And right from my father's elder brother, who was, again, fortunate to get into universities like Columbia University, which was a market university way back in the mid-50s, where very few Indians were, coveted to be there in a place of that repute, like in New York, where, Columbia University, and that too on a scholarship, which was, again, a very coveted possession. And later on, the next was my father, who was later on in Harvard, which is, again, a very, very reputed place. And it needs no mention, in fact, that this university is good or bad or whatever it is. But the reputation stuck to all these, his, I would say, his predecessors. And whatever might we have gathered is because of my grandfather, father, and it has been very much, very fruitfully passed on to his own son, which is sitting right in front of you. And that has evolved within the family, and we have been very privileged. I consider myself very privileged to be, part of such a legacy. And I'm very humble enough to say that, whatever little I am today is because of people like my grandfather and father. My father, again, he was very fortunate to be a student of the 1990 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. He was, his name is Mr. Elias James Corey. He won the Nobel Prize in 1990, and he was one of his first batch students who could, and he could spend a valuable 4 to 5 years with him, and that too in a very premium institution, which is ranked #1 right now in the world. It is some sort of a matter of pride too for anyone who would like to, and he could put his experience to good use in places like, the liver brothers and the Hindustan Liver in India. And that really evolved him as a person, and that again percolated to people like me and my brother, who's again working for Siemens International for the last 20 years in the US. So we have got a very good lineage, and that is being, and we are evolving that. And it is a very big responsibility for me also to keep the lineage strong and take it again to my posterity. So this is what has given me a lot of a matter of a matter of pride, at the same time a matter of belonging also, because whatever I do, I always think about the past, though it doesn't make sense right now. We have to think about the present, but thinking about the past, about his past glory also, has really, had a cathartic effect on me, and that has really evolved into various things. And whenever I deal with people also, people look at all those background to know where I come from. That is also very important. So I think I've answered your question to a certain extent. There are a lot of other, two other sons of his who have really made it in the profession of medicine. And again, one was a geriatrics expert, and another brother was a person who runs a hospital also. So all the four brothers, especially the male segment, was doing very well.
Thank you.
And we were very blessed. Let me tell you that.
Thank you for that. And normally when we consult with entrepreneurs as a strategic advisor, we always ask this question from Sea Change: what drives you and what motivates you? So you have beautifully answered what really drives you in the present of taking your the legacy, what has been built over the last several decades by your.
And to add one point, many people ask me, why do you put this full name, which is quite long? Abraham Paul Vatakencherry. The reason why I gave Paul is for my respect for my father, and the reason for Vatakencherry is for my grandfather, who was evolved the bank and who was the creator for all the wealth and prosperity which has percolated down the line. These are reasons why I've put the full name.
That's really interesting. I would like to go into the second question. I have about 7 to 8 questions to ask you in next 25 minutes time. So the second question starts with this. I'd like to understand more from the perspective of our entrepreneurs in India, back in India. And since I represent the MSME community, micro, small, medium enterprises, people who start their venture in a very, very humble and nimble-footed way, and gradually they grow their business into a different scale. We help them to do that. So from their perspective, I'm going to ask you this question. So how this global influencer or strategist role being played for entrepreneurs, for the benefit of entrepreneurs from your end?
Okay. The reason why I have got into this is something very funny. Initially, I was working for the healthcare segment, and where I was leading the pack. And I had the opportunity to meet the who's who of all the segments. And that is one area where I used to market and sell high-end fitness equipment, which gave access to the actual users. Mm-hmm. And fitness was a global phenomenon, and it was not confined to any specific vertical. It goes across verticals. Okay. And I could meet the who's who, be it in any industry, be it in entertainment, be it in politics, be it in movies, be it in industrialists, corporate honchos, name it, the whole gamut of things I could. And once I started assessing people, I could meet them face to face, all the big guys you can think of, within India at least. If you take a scale of 25, amongst the taxpayers, I've met almost 20. Oh. So that is one, though I can't publicly say that, I'm just, in this, I would let out the name, not the names, but I would give a a ballpark idea of how things have evolved. So here, if you see from the global business point, this meeting people individually gave me a thought that why not I go and go further down and see how I can evolve. And I was, blessed with the gift of the gap, and a bit a reasonable skill in writing also, which gave me a real pep to go beyond a point and establish contact with a lot of big guys who really reciprocated in the same fashion. I am very fortunate to get very few no's from many people, no in inverted commas. When I even used to do a cold call, and I was quite successful in my marketing stints also in getting into the target, getting the targets done and all that well ahead of the scheduled time, and that really gave me a real pep. And these written skills and my the gift of the gap, which I was talking of, that prompted me to get into this global thing. And one by one, tireless hard work, burning the midnight oil, I just kept on doing what it is. And the rest, what you see is history.
So very nice. So that's really interesting because you have field level exposure and experience in meeting people of different caliber. So that really would have built yourself as an individual much larger to handle larger assignments and engagements in the global arena.
In fact, I got an access.
Yes.
Because sorry to interrupt. I got a lot of access to a lot of people whom I couldn't have dreamt in my dreams.
Absolutely.
Getting access to them and getting a real hang of what they are, that prompted me to get into all these things. And I am not a 9-to-5 person. That is something which really prompted me to get into this also.
This is what exactly the problem with many entrepreneurs, where they have excellent ideas and excellent products, excellent services, because they're all from one area of, kind of brought up in one single location, and they don't have exposure to travel outside or meet people outside. So they're all along, they are tied up with their own, the knowledge, and they didn't have exposure, first of all, or opportunity, though they are willing to go, but the opportunity was restrained, and the focus was more on producing products and developing new technologies. Unfortunately,
they have not gone beyond the point.
Yes, many entrepreneurs, if you see MSMEs, they don't really have the sales and marketing quotient per se.
That is very much important, paramount importance these days.
Correct. This is where I guess global influencers and strategists like you, I think, would be playing a huge role to connect the dots, right?
Yes.
Because
nowadays, with this post-pandemic, it becomes all the more obvious. Because
so how do you say that you can connect these two, spectrum of people? One have always looked for opportunities from outside, and here they wanted to connect with them, but they don't know how to go about. So how do you offer as a solution to them?
No, actually, the thing is that they have to come forward with what solution they want. Many people, when I approach, their needs are different. It has to be more of a need-based thing. Suggestions can be given, but acceptance is their will. I can give a suggestion, but if a person is, a hard-boiled type, we can't change it. If he says he might have a family decision to take, or if he's an individual, nothing like it. People with, we have to bring them into our frequency. That is the biggest challenge. And that I've been successful to a very great extent.
Okay.
With many people who are from the, that is very important. And that is a cardinal rule of global acceptance. We should know their culture. We should know what it is, to whom we are dealing with. What is that temperament? These are all different from what we see in a Peter Drucker or a Philip Kotler. We have to be our own Kotler. Because what is acceptable in an Indian context might not be acceptable in a US context or a Russian context, because their attitude towards it is different. Because I have myself worked under these type of people, so I have been able to gauge what they want and what they don't want. Because certain things it will be a flat no if you say certain things. They get irritated fast. Some are very cool. Some are very. So this character analyzation also has made me feel very, very comfortable with some people. And those who really need will always come to you and tell you exactly what they want. Okay. Some might need merchandising, some might need market development, some might need, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is what do you bring to the table in terms of money. All these big dialogues and big flow charts and all these have no meaning in some of the places. But at the end of the day, they need money. To get money, what all has to be done? And it all boils down to the person, actually, honestly speaking, or the organization. What is their approach? Is it a process-driven company? Is it a single-man company? That all depends on. But there is a lot of opportunity now. From now, if you see, the communication has taken an even more. It is of even more importance these days, because this post-COVID era is going to be very, very crucial. True. And anything which is going to be virtual, if you see the first five and amongst the top rich guys, all are from the virtual space. They've made their money through the virtual space. And similar way, to answer your question, we have to be more customer friendly, more client friendly. The access to the clientele has to be much more than before. Not to lose them, because losing is very easy, but to gain one is difficult. So that way, I think the communication as such has played a big role in my life. Coupled with some knowledge, it can be a very potent weapon. And that is what we have to just put forth our views. And if they get married with our view, then it goes forward. If it doesn't, we split. Good.
So one, you said the entrepreneurs who have aspirations and ambitions to do business outside of India, since you deal with the global strategic, the influence model. Yes. If somebody wants to explore opportunities outside of India, first of all, they should know what exactly they want and what exactly they possess in terms of the deliverables, and to be able to connect with the people who have in turn have huge connector network in the global area.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. They should necessarily connect with people who have got saddled experience within the country. Correct. It is not like we are going and meeting a person, he's going to do it. No. Correct. That will be it will fizzle out within no time. Correct. We should have the actual backing. If it is a mega project, we should have the backing of the government, or it should be a PPP, or it depends. Depends on the mega project and what the country is famous for. Like, for instance, I'll give you a stray example. Botswana, a country in Africa, it is famous for its meat export. So we have to see what type of things can go from there. Okay. What do they need? They are famous for diamonds. Like that, they have a lot of places. Sri Lanka is known for its coffee. It's known for its textiles. Bangladesh is known for its textiles. Like that, we have to explore that possibility and then zero in on the person, what they want and what type of person can be hand-holded from here, specifically the SMEs, to meet the right person there, so that we are hand-holding at the same time giving him a bigger exposure in the world canvas.
True. I know pretty well that, before I go on to my another question, the next question, for the benefit of the viewer, I'd like to mention here, Mr. Abraham Paul, has been working very closely with various international chamber of commerce around the globe. So one of the things which, in fact, when I dealt with him for one of my clients, one of my entrepreneurial client, that he wanted to connect with the global chamber of commerce in one of the countries where he wants to get into their relationship, the association, faster and quickly. So he was actually, trying to make his own way, but he could not do. But then he got connected with Mr. Abraham Paul, and he was able to quickly connect these two entities so that they can start, engaging themselves in terms of relationship. So in that way, I'm very certain that your global influencer role and strategic role would be a phenomenal help for MSMEs, SME entrepreneurs back in India, because they don't.
In fact, I can give a helping hand to anyone who's looking at business in the specific way, but he has to be very clear cut with his thought process, very clear cut with what he wants from the country. That's a very, very important point. It's not just exposure. If he wants real business, real time business,
True.
He has to be very serious.
True.
He has to know where he wants to, whether he wants to get into the mid segment, whether he wants to get into the higher segment, whether he wants to get into the lower segment. There are things it has become a wired world. Things are boundaryless. There is nothing. Those who think that we are confined to a country alone, they are all wrong. And anyone who says that I don't regret going there, everyone has got regrets. The percentages vary. I might have a 10% regret. You might have a 30% regret, or another person might have a 5% regret also. Regrets are there everywhere. I've also regretted. But the corrective thing, what I do, is to make it to a different level.
Yeah, we are living in a global village, as we call. So we can't simply say that we can do business only in Tamil Nadu or only in South India, or only in India. No. If your product
you just see the really punchline.
Yeah.
To tell you the punchline of HSBC.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the world's local bank, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that itself shows that everything has come down to a place. Even in a place like US, people never used to think about anything beyond US because everything was there.
Yeah.
Time zones are different, climate zones are different, everything, the luxury what you can think of is all there. But now they have started exploring other places. That is how I have seen this as an opportunity. That is why I'm raising this thing. And I am getting more calls than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 6 months, let me put it in inverted commas, from US than any other country.
Okay. Dynamic.
It's a big eye opener for us, and we should take advantage of that. I'm venturing into one particular wonder drink, just to give you an example. It's a California based company which has got the might to break the backbone of big giants like Pepsi and Coke. I'm just giving you an example. So they are all exploring. They have all understood the potential of countries like India.
This has given me a lead for the next question to you.
Yes.
The next question is, I'm going to turn the table now. So far, I was talking about entrepreneurs from India connecting to the global entrepreneurs or global arena. Now I'm turning the table from looking at how do you build your network outside of India, rather, what kind of opportunities those organizations out there in US or Europe or Africa or Middle East or Asia, where you are connected with, are looking at India. How do they look at India, and what way they are looking at, and what do they really want from Indian entrepreneurs, from your experience?
I'll tell you. There is a lot of hatred which has been cultivated over the last 7 months, because everyone knows, and it's an open secret, that China is behind I'm openly telling you this, because this has been voiced by at least more than 10 people from US, and they don't want to do anything, no business from China.
Mm-hmm.
That is their punchline now, no business from China. Then the only other alternative they have is India. But let me tell you that this is not a very encouraging point. India is far behind in terms of the business potential. But we can create the potential if we have like-minded SMEs who can put their heads together and fight. It's going to be a revolution. Mm-hmm. And things can change. Things can change for the better, let me tell you that. Because of the simple fact that there is going to be a reverse brain drain. Already from states like Kerala, there are a lot of people who have come back with some loads of money, and they want to really put it into business and do something because for the livelihood. Similar way, we have other entities coming into India. Just because, in fact, Russia is trying to make big inroads into India. They have seen potential, and I think given in the coming March, delegation is coming into India. India and various other. This is for the benefit of the MSMEs who are looking at tie-ups and all that.
Yes.
If you have a reasonable product, I would put it as a reasonable product. I don't want to say an exquisite product, because the reasonable becomes exquisite later on. So, it all depends on how you accept them.
Yes.
So
true.
So that is my.
That's interesting. Having said that, I would like to dive a little deep into the point what you said now. Okay, we all feel like sometimes we are lacking behind, and we lag behind few aspects in our doing the way we do business in comparison with the developed countries or people who are doing prosperous business. What are the three important key aspects which you suggest for Indian entrepreneurs to look at for a dramatic shift in their thinking process?
First and foremost, their mindset has to be more broad-minded. The second aspect I would put it is they should be prepared to spend on invest. So I feel that is the point number two. And the third thing is our readiness for that particular thing.
Okay, preparedness.
Preparedness. And that readiness and preparedness will come only if the first point is clearly met with. That is a broad-minded approach. Many people fail in the Indian context because of certain, staggered decision making.
Okay.
And that can be evolved only with, now we have a fresh bunch of youngsters who really would like to barge the market. And they are the ones. This is happening in Tirupur, and they can be emerging victorious because there's a lot of knowledge. And we should also look at, when you told that, there's another point, which is there is a lot of people from the Arab countries who are trying to divest.
Okay.
Because of the oil slump.
Okay.
That is another big market. Even they are looking at from the investing in various places. UK, US, France are their primary targets, but India is also very much because of the Keralites involved there. They have and with a lot of things coming up there, there's a lot of business scope also in the reverse. Like Expo. These are two big events coming. There are two big events coming up in the Gulf region. One is the Dubai Expo. That is happening on 2021 October. The next one is happening in 2022 in Qatar, the World Cup football. So these two events can bring in a lot of things from India. For instance, one of my friends who's a CEO of a company there, not friends, he's more than a friend, he's a batchmate. He is a CEO of a company there in infrastructure. He was telling me that the infrastructure outlay is nothing less than $35 to $40 billion.
Oh.
So infrastructure indirectly gives a lot of scope for a lot of people, right from the semi-skilled to the top. So I'm just giving you an example. That is only infrastructure. What about hospitality? What about the airline business? The Expo is going to expose a lot of things, provided the epidemic allays down.
Yes.
That is everywhere there's a question mark. No one in the wildest of their dreams would have thought of an epidemic like this, where all will be sitting at home. All those who are jet setting, all are, tied down like lions in the cage. They are all shattered. I know a lot of people sitting because they don't know anything else. Luckily, I'm in the space of consulting. I know various verticals, I'm able to do something and do. But a person who has been doing some mechanical job or something for years together is fixed.
Correct. Many of our MSMEs,
the machineries are not working. Yes, it's a terrible time. I
know I've been dealing with
manufacturing, running, rerunning, all these are all cold run and all that we talk of. It's all in the lurch, and there are a lot of aspects which get into the real functioning of a thing. The industry base plays a big role. If it is a virtual industry, they will. That is why if you see a Byju's, they're performing exceedingly well. There is a German company which I'm going to be associated with shortly. They are planning to make inroads into e-learning in India. They are looking at partners. Just to cite an example, there are umpteen examples for which this half an hour won't suffice.
I know. So
that is what.
Absolutely, you said it actually. So I'll move on to the another. Almost we have come to the closure of the last two questions. So one important question is about one. I talked about entrepreneurs from India to abroad. Another one is opportunities from abroad to India, and of course you may even wanted to share what are the other opportunities exist where people can have eye on. You talked about the games in Qatar and Dubai.
Healthcare is very important.
Correct.
Anything pertaining to health is very important. It can be right from healthcare is a very wide spectrum.
Correct.
It's not just confined to
generic.
It can be from
nature,
even things like equipment. Yes. That and even pharmaceuticals. Good solutions for that. IoT-based mechanisms, integrated mechanisms. All this has got scope. But to tell you one thing, manufacturing will be at a low ebb as of now. Until things which are labor intensive will have a tough time. But at the same time, the virtual world is going to kick off. Correct. Even in the movies, the OTT platform, over the top platform is doing very well.
True.
But that is confined to movies. So we have to find ways and means how things can evolve. In fact, when I told I'm doing one, I'm actually vouching for a company to take up a project in South Africa, Durban. That's an entertainment project which is worth around 10 million USD. And that is where they're going to have a big entertainment show from Bollywood, which is going to be one of the first of its kind probably the biggest from India. There, it is going to be how to get the returns would be a question. If you spend a big amount for a 4 or 5 hour, the returns are very simple. It's through the satellite rights, which is being sold region by region, wherever a big diaspora of Indians are there. So this is how the things are evolving.
True. So now we have come to the end of the discussion, where I have two important questions to be asked you for the benefit of our viewers, especially entrepreneurs and business leaders and students, essentially. So the question is about students and youth. I just wanted to know, like, what kind of opportunities our millennials and the youth of this country, because we have a very huge demographic dividend. The young population is so high, more than 65%. So what kind of insight or suggestions in short you would like to present it for youth and students?
There is absolutely, you are spot on in saying that the youth is our biggest virtue. At the same time, youth is our biggest asset too. The youth, by saying, though I have said that, there is a lot of opportunity which will come up for the youth also, because a lot of things are opening up, and they should be there. Again, the youth have to think in a different way. It is not like we have the post pandemic thinking and the pre-pandemic thinking has to be totally different. And a person who has got a person who's looking from a very rigid viewed person is not going to succeed. Anyone who thinks that he's lost in the pandemic, he's a failure. He has to start thinking about his other assets. By that, I mean his skills. It can be from case to case, it really varies. And they have opportunities which are coming up in parallels. Suppose he was doing a physical job, that has become a virtual job now. Physical thing is out of the window. So that virtual job, what all are coming up, we have to see. Because most of these, even if you go and get into, just to cite an example, most of the IT companies have lowered their workforce by cutting salaries by 30%, 40%. I know one company which has gone to the extent of going to 60% of salary cut in Bombay. But that is all is strange. But they are finding other ways and means how to educate them and all that. So things are opening, but communication will hold the key. Correspondence will hold the key. That is where people like us can really come up. And for the youth, it is a very big question mark apart from that.
I always suggest to the youth when I address college students that, the gig economy, which is picking up pretty much clear, but I know many of the students in a close quarter, and they are able to, offer their services from home while they're studying in college, and they are billing per hour charges for, let's say, website designing, for example, doing some video editing, for example. I'm just saying, even locally in India, it's happening. So youth have a lot of opportunities. Only thing is they need to sharpen their skills, focus on where they want to head on.
Correct.
While studying.
They have to sharpen the skills. Exactly.
Once they grasp the skills, what are the skills required, they can always grab the opportunity which exists in the marketplace, in the global area.
They have to hone their skills. That's the right way.
True. Absolutely.
To hone their skills.
True.
There's no rocket science.
We come to the end of this conversation now, and I have only one question to ask you for the benefit of our viewers. Tell me 3 things as in terms of opportunities which exist from global market for the Indian entrepreneurs. 3 things, if they can focus, surely they'll be able to connect with the, their
healthcare, biotech, biotech. Biotech is another idea. Virtual learning. These are 3 virtual learning, which can be blended mainly, but virtual learning is going to hold sway. All these 3 areas, because gone are the days when people came with fintech investment and suddenly there's a diversion from that because they don't see any future for that. So I would say these 3 areas hold sway. And another big area which I missed out is entertainment.
Which one?
Entertainment. Anything pertaining to entertainment.
Of course.
That entertainment and sports.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just give you cite an example.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
I'll just cite one example. And the current IPL has got a viewership of 2.4 billion. That gives you the answer.
Okay. So that's fantastic.
Kandy Stadium, lacking a sans people, is giving rise to a virtual world with full of people.
True.
This is my conclusion.
True. That's fantastic way of ending the conversation. So a lot of scope, lot of opportunities, even in this pandemic scenario. Yes. But we need to be very cautious and open our hearts and minds to look at opportunities. Connect with people like Mr. Abraham Paul for any help.
Correct.
He's very, very generous in helping people. He's never looks at commercial and upfront in any of the services that he offered. Even for my own clients, I've experienced. He always gives. He always believes in giving and giving and giving. And that's a legacy which has actually brought him up to this level. I'm extremely happy, Mr. Abraham, for participating in our.
Thank you.
This is only a beginning.
For this opportunity, I am equally indebted to you.
Thank you. We will continue to have more sessions in the future to come on a specific.
Definitely. I'm there to help you.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Thank you very much for joining.